All right, good morning. Have you recovered from your Christmas carb coma? Yeah? I hope so. We're in our second part of our series called FOMO, fear of missing out. And the reality is, some of you feel like life's passing you by and you are missing out. And supposedly all these great things are happening and you're not a part of it. That's kind of how I feel right now because my daughter and my 5 grandkids and my son-in-law left on Christmas Eve to go to the Philippines. You say, oh, that is so awesome that they're doing a missions trip for Jesus on Christmas Eve for 17 days. No, they're going to a number of islands, and it's 85 and sunny the whole time, and they're posting all these pictures. And I have missed out, but I don't care because I'd rather be here with you. Amen? All right, and so I've done some research because fear of missing out is just one of those kind of phobias. And our title of our message today is, what are you living for? Is it worth dying for? But I'm going to do something a little fun with you. I found 5 unusual fear of something, right? So I'm going to give you a long word that I'll barely be able to pronounce. I may not. And then I'm going to give you a picture hint, and then you're going to yell out if you can guess what this is. Here we go. Here's the first one. Let's see what it says. Pseudonglobophobia. It's the fear of cotton balls. All right. In fact, they can't even touch them, and when they tear them apart, that freaks them out. All right, here's the next one. Arachnophobia. It's the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. All right. How about this one? Scopophobia. Scopophobia. It's the fear of being stared at. Being stared at. All right? All right. Amophalophobia. Yeah, what's that about? It's the fear of belly buttons. The fear of belly buttons. In fact, they can't even think about belly buttons. It drives them nuts. And then this is one, if someone could say this for me, hippopotamotros equipodylophobia. It's the fear of long words. And might be the longest long word you've ever seen. All right, now we can laugh at this stuff. And I know sometimes, though, this FOMO thing does rob us of joy if we let it. And so we see other people's Facebook vacations or Instagram selfies, and Pastor David did a great job of setting us up about what it is. And the next 2 weeks, I'm going to help you deal with, well, how do you deal with it, right? And I'll tell you how we're going to deal with it today. And so I think you've heard this phrase, they are living their best lives. But every best lives have dark shadows in them that we don't see. And they may have a smile on their face, but deep down inside, they're lost. They're hurting. They're lonely. They're feeling something, but you would never know it by their Instagram or TikTok feed, etc., etc. But the thing that happens to us is we ask the question, why not me? Why not us? Why can't I live that best life? And so in our text from Philippians chapter 1, just a few verses, I'm going to give you 3 simple actions to take to combat this kind of FOMO thing that's going on. All right? Here we go. First one, you got to develop a heavenly perspective. A heavenly perspective, not just an earthly perspective. For me, to live is Christ and to die is gain. I've thought about this because as I was preparing this, I thought about all the famous biblical, like preacher-type people who have died in the last several months. John MacArthur died, James Dobson died, Vadi Bokum died, Charlie Kirk died, and then if you listen to Entertainment Tonight, there's like 50 people that are in Hollywood who died, including Robert Redford and all these other people. So we see all this happening around us. But those 4 that I mentioned were passionate Christ followers. And what it caused me to do, like I I do every year. I set some goals and I reflect on the previous year. It said to me, in this new phase of life that we're in now, that we live in San Diego, which is crazy to think that we live down there now, what am I living for? And it reminds me of the time I thought most about what I was living for, and it was back in 1991. I was a high school pastor at the time. We lived in Edina, Minnesota, where it is 20 below, and it is not raining. It is frozen. It is the land of the frozen chosen. No offense to any Midwest folks. And so what would you do if you're a high school pastor for spring break? Oh, let's just go ice fishing on Lake Minnetonka. We're going to Florida. Panama City Beach, Florida, spring break. You go, oh, are those documentaries they made on high school youth groups? Yeah, no, that wasn't us. I brought everybody back alive. But there was one time during that trip, I don't know if I was going to come back alive. We were snorkeling there in the Gulf. There was a 6-knot current taking us out to the ocean. They had people on the boat, and there's like 100 of us out there snorkeling, and they blow the horn like it's time to swim back to the boat. So all these young men and women are just swimming back so gracefully. I'm going to just step aside so you can see that this is not a swimming body. It's barely a floating body. It's definitely a sinking body. And so I'm swimming like crazy to get back to the boat, and I notice everybody's back except for me. And I'm a long way from the boat, and I'm losing against a 6-knot current. And I'm thinking, I got to get there. This is embarrassing. Pretty much, I promise every parent I'll bring them back alive. They don't die on my watch. It'd be a bummer if I die on their watch, though, right? And so I'm swimming, and I laugh about it now, but I was getting tired. They said I swam for 26 minutes. Now, to get to the punchline, I do live because I'm telling you the story, but it was a 50-50. The kids were taking bets. They could have made some money on me. So the bottom line is I'm swimming, and now it's embarrassing. I'm about 25 feet away. I'm almost there. I am exhausted, and the young deckhand, who is now taking off his shirt and flexing for all the girls, is about ready to jump in and rescue me. Hang on, Pastor. I said, no. I was stubborn. I did not need saving. Sidebar, isn't that what lost people do? They're drowning. They don't want to admit they're drowning. They need saving. And so I waved him off. No, I can do it. I felt like that little guy on Fantasy Island. The plane, you can do it. I could not do it. And so now I'm getting closer, but every time I think I'm about to get through this, I get drugged back. So now his shirt is off. He is ready to jump in. I can see them conferring. The kids are chanting, Pastor John, Pastor John, Pastor John. And under their breath, please don't die, please don't die. And so I am like, okay, all right, let's just do this thing. And I finally relent, and he's got one of those big white tubes, those things they throw out on a rope, and you're supposed to grab onto it, and they'll tow you in. So he threw it out there, and believe it or not, for a split second, in my absurdity and my pride, like I don't need saving, I can do this, I thought about not grabbing onto it. That lasted about 2 nanoseconds because I was like, I'm done. And I grab on, and it was an awesome sight as they pulled me in the wake. I'm parting the ocean as they bring me in, and I get on there, and they're all cheering, and Pastor John lives to preach another day. I'm saying, I didn't really think about dying, but there was a moment there where had I been thinking rationally, I should have let him save me like 15 minutes earlier. So now fast forward. It's that night. We go to a church thing, a nonprofit group there, and they provide bungee jumping opportunities. I got 100 kids. Only 18-year-olds or older can do it. There were 2 other youth pastors, 3 groups together. The other 2 youth pastors are going to do it. They're much younger and foolish, and they're going to do it. And so my group's looking at me, hey, God saved your life once, you won't die tonight, right? And are you going to do it, Pastor John? And I'm saying, no, I hate heights. I don't like to even walk upstairs, And they go, come on, Pastor John. And of course, the fear of missing out on one hand and the fear of being made fun of on the other hand, I relent. So they both do it. It's wonderful. And I go up this crane, they take you up in this bucket, and I'm like 200 feet above, or I don't know. I felt like I was in the stratosphere. I know it was not that far, but he made 200 feet. I'm on a crane. I'm all buckled in, and there's a stunt pillow. And the guys on the top of a Christian organization go, we thought we'd take the moment to just talk to you about Jesus. And I thought, oh, that's awesome. Are you a believer? I go, yeah, I'm a pastor. He goes, just because you're a pastor doesn't make you a believer. I said, touche. I said, would you like to share the gospel with me? Because it'll prolong this before I have to jump. They go, yeah. And they share the gospel. I said, yeah, I accepted Jesus as January 8th, 1963. He goes, all right, bro, you are ready to go. So I turn around. They hold on to me, and I'm leaning forward to jump out. As I look down at the bottom there, it's a yellow stunt pillow, and in black electrical tape it says, are you ready to meet Jesus? I said, yes, someday, but not today. And I jumped, and I about died. I'm going down. I think I'm going to splat. I'm going to break the bungee. You feel like your face is 6 inches from hitting that thing. It's probably 6 or 10 feet. And, of course, they're like, oh, made it. They don't tell you. Then they shoot you back up. And then you get to do that whole thing again. 5 times I had to go through that. And by the 4th time, I'm posing for pictures and whatnot, and I'm getting cheered. That day was quite an extreme, from nearly drowning to being asked, are you ready to meet Jesus? And that's what I'm saying right now. You got to develop a heavenly perspective. And when he's saying that, he says there's a gain. And so when you die, and someday we will all die, we need to see death like this. It's our homecoming, not our homegoing. And so I'll be doing another memorial service here in a couple weeks. Someone not from our church, and I met with the family this week, and their mom is with Jesus today. Well, what's the second way to combat FOMO? Decide what you really want to pursue, verses 22 to 23. But if I am to live on in the flesh, this will mean fruitful labor for me. And I do not know which to choose, but I'm hard-pressed from both directions. I don't know which way to choose. So it's not clear to him. He doesn't have a death wish, but, remember, he's in prison right now, so it's not like the best accommodations, but he's got so much fruitful ministry. Remember, all the guards are chained to him, and he's sharing Christ, and he doesn't take no for an answer. And so he has this word hard-pressed, means literally to hold together. It was used of walking through a narrow gorge, or a picture of a traveler on a narrow path. And so same word as hard-pressed was when the multitudes in Sea of Galilee, when he's doing the Sermon on the Mount, are pressing in on him. So I want to ask you, what are you pursuing? What is it that you really pursue in life? Now, it's not fantasy football, even though I did finish in second again this year. But the bottom line is, if you listen to advertising, most Americans would fill in the blank in these 4 ways. For me to live is. And so I want to just ask you, what captures your motivation and attention? The first thing is possessions. We get. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like, right? And so there's this possessions thing. We're working to keep up with somebody else, and home improvements, and do I have enough? And so the bottom line is, the social media experts tell us when we see all this stuff online, we see this idea of status and success and looking great. All those people are airbrushed, right? I don't see really any fat models, right? I have no one who has my body type that they're advertising with, right? Everybody's perfect. And you go, I don't look like that. And so the bottom line is possessions, stuff doesn't ultimately matter, does it? God is your ultimate provider. It reminds me of this funny story. A young woman brought her fiancé home to meet her parents, and after dinner, the wife said, honey, take him into the study and find out what his intentions are for our daughter. Why don't you have the talk with him? We all know what the talk is if you ever went through that. And so he takes the young man into his study and he says, "So what are your plans?" Very pleasantly. And the young man says, "I am a biblical scholar." Okay. Well, that's admirable, but what are you going to do to provide a nice house for my daughter to live in? He says, "I will study, and God will provide for us." Okay. So how are you going to buy her an engagement ring? And how will you? He says, "Well, I will concentrate on my studies, and God will provide for us." Okay, this is getting old. So he says, "Well, what about children? How are you going to support the kids and the children?" "Don't worry, sir. God will provide." So the conversation goes like that for like another 20 minutes. He's so idealistic, and every answer is God will provide. So later, mom pulls dad aside after he's gone home. He goes, "Honey, how'd the conversation go?" Dad says this: "He has no job, he has no plans, and he thinks I'm God." Number 2, pleasure. Pleasure. You know, if it feels good, that whole Epicurean philosophy, no pain, eat, drink, and be merry. We find, some of you are foodies. By the way, there's nothing wrong to being a foodie, but it's really contra, to your weight loss goals. And how many are already on target? Man, you are nailing it. It is January 4th. Yeah, we're not getting asked that because you set the goal and you already blew it. So that whole idea of pleasure, what's best for me, what will make me happy, what's the best thing for me, it's all about me. Third thing the world looks at is power. Now, whether it's the presidents of Mount Rushmore or the most interesting men. By the way, I don't know who this guy is, but he's the Dos Equis guy. And I don't know what that is. I think it's a Mexican beer, but I'm not sure. So we dress for success. We drive to impress. Image is everything. But I think there are some of you who sit here today and you say, life's kind of passed me by. I thought by this time in my life I'd be here. When my daughter was at Biola, there was this kind of graduating from college, and some of her friends had not met their beloved. They thought for sure they'd get their MRS degree at Biola, and they didn't find their Biola Bob. And so there was this thing, and then they turned 25, and then 30, and then 35, and so for some people, that whole thing of waking up wishing your life was different, looking over your shoulder at regret and maybe bitterness. And when you do that, it fuels this kind of envy and insecurity and performance-based self-worth. The fourth thing the world says for me to live is for popularity. Arguably, she might be the most popular person in the world in the music industry right now, Taylor Swift. And I think a lot of people, especially in high school and college, you're like, who am I hanging with? Who will fit in? And we think about things, and I am not minimizing high school students in this room. This desire to be popular at some level and not be a zero, to just to be known. It's agonizing for some of you. You go to school, you know nobody, no one hangs with you, and you feel less than. And the worst part is you don't even feel seen. And so I think that sometimes those things that we think will count really make a difference. And so I thought about that. What did it feel like for me when I was in high school? I thought I'd turn back the clock here 50 years. So this is me in high school. And that was my senior picture. I know there's some blurry pictures, big senior rally. Graduated from high school in 1974. Yeah, do the math. That's a long time ago. Most of you have not even lived 2 lives to get to 50 years. And so then 50 years later, this is what we all look like now, And you notice I only put pictures of the guys in these pictures. That was part of my baseball team there that I played baseball with, because the girls just outdid themselves, and they looked a lot better 50 years later than us old gray-haired guys waddling around. But the bottom line is I thought back to those days, and I wasn't one of the most popular guys. I didn't hang out with the crowd, the whatever the in crowd I thought was. I played sports and I loved Jesus, and I started Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I tried to share Christ as best I can and remind you at the end. I want you to come up and get one of these because it's a reminder of what's really important in life, and we'll talk about this. Well, the third way to do it, and really is the linchpin to this FOMO thing, is determine your purpose. Having the desire to depart and be with Christ, for that is very much better, and yet to remain in the flesh is more necessary for your sake. Helen Keller, the blind person that you've heard about and Blind in Death, said this: true happiness is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. One of the things that I did that really cemented the purpose of my life, I gathered with 1 million men on the Washington Mall in Washington, D.C. It was a sight to be seen. And I can't get into all of it, but that was a big turning point. Even though I was a pastor, I want to live for Christ no matter what. I want to be a man of integrity. I want to make a difference that will last for eternity. And this idea of making a difference was really cemented in my mind. And so I think the bottom line is that there are times when you're developing purpose in life. What are you doing in life? What are you doing in life that's making a difference? Do you have a cause or a purpose or something in your life that's outside of yourselves, right? You make a difference, whether it's, I go to see a guy in assisted living about once a month that's near here. One of my former high school students, dad's 85 and doesn't get out much, and I go see him. It's a little thing. I'm not paid to do it. I do it because I want someone to see him. His kids are no longer in the area. So all of you have something, probably a quiet little mission you do on the side. Keep it up. Keep doing that. Reminds me of a little funny story. An elderly woman is preparing her will, and she makes 2 final requests. She says, I want to be cremated, and I want to have my ashes spread out all over Walmart. And they read that. Why? So my daughter will come and visit me at least 2 times a week. That's sad. All right. So what are you going to focus on? I'd say the most impressive book ever written on purpose in life is called The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. I'm going to read you an excerpt from that in a moment. But where do you find purpose in life? If this were a high school assembly, I'd have you yell out to me, where do you find purpose in life? And I did tons of these back in the day. And I couldn't generally talk about Jesus, but if they would use one of the F's that I could, then it gave me an entree. So just for a moment here, for a few minutes, and I know our time is ticking away, but where do you find purpose in life? What were some of those words that would come to mind? First one would be what? Family. Okay. What else? Family and faith. That never made the top 10 in a public high school, by the way. Family, faith, friends. Family, faith, friends. Future. Family, faith, friends, future. Fun, food, finances, fortune, football for Pastor David, football, and for the total slacker in the room, foosball, all right? And for those who won or lost, fantasy football. Now, the best answer I ever got was from a kid in a Hispanic high school with 700 kids. I get to the end of this list, and he unashamedly stands up. I said, what's your name? Martin. Martin, what do you live for? He says, frijoles. I said, all right, bring in the beans here. But these are all just temporary things. Ultimately, your faith is what drives your ultimate purpose in life. One of those guys, one of my heroes, Dr. James Dobson, said it this way: too many people climb the ladder of success only to find that it's leaning against the wrong wall. So I gave you a chart. We're not going to go much over it, but you can kind of find yourself in this chart. And if you're listening online, email me and I'll send you the notes. But the bottom line, in your 20s, it's about survival. Can I make it? In your 30s and 40s, it's about success. How can I make more? In your 50s, it's about significance. Am I making a difference? In your 60s, it's about satisfaction. Am I enjoying what I'm making? In your 70s and 80s, it's about security. Did I make it? And so when you find yourself in those decades, ask yourself, what is driving you? I don't have time to read all of it, but at this Angel Stadium proclamation in 2005, Rick Warren said these words, "Today, in front of 45,000 people made a commitment. Today, I'm going to ask you to make a commitment, and you can come up and get one of these to signify this is what I'm living for." He said, I'll give you a couple excerpts. "Today, I'm stepping across the line. I'm tired of waffling. I'm finished with wavering." He says again, "I'll live the rest of my life serving God's purposes with God's people on God's planet for God's glory. Because of this life is preparation for the next. I will value worship over wealth, and we over me, and character over comfort, and service over status, and people over possessions, and positions and pleasures. I'm not going to be captivated by culture, manipulated by critics, or motivated by praise, or frustrated by problems. When times get tough, I get tired, I won't back off. I'll back down or back out or backslide." And then he finishes with this, "I'm a trophy of God's amazing grace. So I'll be gracious to everyone, grateful for every day, and generous with everything God entrusts me with." Is that true of us? I hope it is. And so to wrap this up, it's a longer video than we normally show, but I think it'll really cement the truths of what we're talking about. It's called Clayton's Story.
Life for a lot of people means a lot of different things. Life for some person can mean the usual: go to school, go to college, get a good job, get a good husband or wife, get a good family, get a good car, get a good home, get a good everything, and then have a good memorial service. My name is Clayton McDonald, and I am at the end of my life. Morning. All you do is eat, sleep, play, and poop. You are one lucky dog. Hey, where are you guys going?
I'm taking Sam to school.
Do you think I can get a ride?
Yeah, hurry up.
If I died tonight, I would miss him so much. All right, bye, Sammy.
Bye, Sam. Bye, Zach.
All right, bye, Zach. I love you, man.
Hey, Clay.
Yeah.
Is everything good, man? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wave 25 on that cylinders.
25.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey,
I got the ray gun pretty early, which
Hey, Connor.
helped, and then I got like a Browning.
A shotgun?
No, the Browning heavy machine gun.
Oh my goodness. 2 weeks ago, 1 o'clock in the morning, and John just looks outside and he's just like, lock all the doors. And then the next thing we know, she knocks on the door and she's just like, yeah, she's like, is so and so here? And John's like, no.
My name is Clay McDonald, and I'm here to share my story. I'm at 7 years old. They thought it was just the flu. And now, 12 years later, I have been diagnosed with leukemia for the 4th time, and the doctors can't do anything about it. And so naturally, you get a lot of questions from something as severe as this. And one of the questions I get asked the most is, "Hey Clayton, are you scared?" Yeah, I'm scared. I'm terrified. But I'm not scared of cancer because I've had it most of my life. I know what's gonna happen. And I'm not scared to die either because I know where I'm going when I die. I'm scared for everybody else. I am scared for those who don't know where they're going when they die. I'm scared for those who might think they know where they're going when they die, but they really don't. And I'm especially scared for those of you who are distracted by this world. Distracted by school, distracted by sports, distracted by girlfriends, boyfriends, iPods, this or that, distracted by anything and everything Satan can throw in front of them. That is what I'm scared for. I have the luxury of knowing about when I'm gonna die, and you don't. See, I feel sorry for you, because you don't know. So it's not hard for me to be thankful for everyday things. It's not hard for me to be thankful for my family and friends when I know I might not see them again tomorrow. It's not hard for me to be thankful for every breath that I have, because it was given to me by God.